Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, you've just downloaded SpongeBob Tower Defense, or maybe you've been playing for a while and suddenly realized there are a lot of Bikini Bottom characters in this game, from classics like SpongeBob and Patrick to surprise additions like Bubble Bass and the Flying Dutchman. It's super easy to get overwhelmed trying to figure out which units are actually worth upgrading and which ones, well, are just there for the vibes, but don't worry, we've got you covered. In today's video, we're diving into the ultimate SpongeBob Tower Defense tier list. Whether you're a complete newbie trying to survive your first few waves or a seasoned player looking to fine-tune your squad, this guide will help you know exactly who's top tier and who's better left on the bench. Let's jump in and break it all down together. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking units in SpongeBob Tower Defense. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Slappy Laszlo, Barnacle Boy Patrick, Karate SpongeBob, Goofy Goober Waiter, Gene Scallop, Jim, Barnacle Boy, Bubble Bass, Sandy, Patrick, and Gary. Oh boy, if you thought the C tier was rough, welcome to the D tier, where dreams go to take a nap and never wake up. Let's kick things off with Slappy Laszlo. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a solid support unit. The guy tries, he brings a slow effect to the table, and that's cute, but it barely lasts long enough to matter. His slow duration is short, his movement is slower, and frankly, he just doesn't keep up. Among all the rare units in SpongeBob Tower Defense, he's sadly one of the worst. So yeah, he's more of a moral support unit than anything else. Moving on to Barnacle Boy Patrick, and let's be honest, this guy peaked in the tutorial stage. As far as uncommon units go, he's actually one of the best early game options. His single target damage per second is pretty impressive for a beginner, but the moment you unlock something better, he becomes obsolete. No area of effect damage, no special tricks, just a strong punch and a polite wave goodbye when you replace him. Next up is Karate SpongeBob, and oh man, this one hurts. I wanted him to be good. I mean, Karate SpongeBob, that sounds awesome. But in practice, he's just okay. His single target damage is nothing to write home about, and he has no area of effect damage at all. Like Barnacle Boy Patrick, he's only useful if you just started playing. Don't get too attached. Let's talk about Goofy Goober Waiter, who I like to call the king of early game deception. On paper, he looks great, solid range, solid area of effect damage, and actually one of the better uncommon units out there. But here's the kicker, every rare unit completely outclasses him. So sure, he'll carry you through the first few maps, but once you hit mid-game, it's time to pack his goofy little apron and move on. Then there's Gene Scallop, who sounds like he should be working in a jazz bar, not fighting jellyfish. He's got decent line damage, which sounds cooler than it actually is. His range is pretty short though, which really holds him back. Like so many others in this tier, Gene's biggest sin is that he's only helpful at the very start of the game, and even then, not by much. Now Jim, poor Jim. If we're being generous, his single target damage is passable, but he's easily one of the worst uncommon units in SpongeBob Tower Defense. No area of effect damage, no utility, nothing exciting. He just kind of stands there and hopes nobody notices how bad he is. Sorry Jim, let's not forget Barnacle Boy, the original one. I wish I had something nice to say, but his performance is straight up tragic. Extremely low range, and he applies a damage over time effect that may as well do 0 damage. Honestly, if you see him in your roster, it's just your cue to look away and pretend it didn't happen. Last but definitely least, we've got Bubble Bass, Sandy, Patrick, and Gary all hanging out at the bottom of the barrel. Bubble Bass tries to help with some area damage, but the radius is tiny and his range is short. Sandy has really solid single target damage, but no area of effect and very limited range. Patrick is okay, good range and okay damage, but compared to units like Squidward or SpongeBob, he's just not worth using. And Gary, sweet Gary. He's supposed to be a support unit, but the slow effect he applies is laughably short, and his damage output is basically non-existent. All 4 of them fall under the same rule. They're fine only if you're just starting out, and even then, don't get too comfy. So yeah, D tier is where the heartbreak lives. These units aren't completely useless, but in a game that throws waves of chaos your way, you really need more than just okay. They'll help you learn the ropes, but once you know how to play, it's time to let them go. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Baby Prunes, Dirty Bubble, Lord Royal Highness, Squilliam Fancyson, Old Man Jenkins, Bubble Buddy, Mrs. Puff, Karate Sandy, Kevin C. Cucumber, SpongeBob, and Squidward. Oh boy, let me tell you, C tier is where dreams go to retire. Let's kick it off with Baby Prunes. This unit actually has a solid line area of effect damage per second, which sounds nice, right? But then you realize its range is embarrassingly low, and when you stack it up against the better epic units out there, it just kind of flops. You can use it, but should you? That's a different question entirely. Now, Dirty Bubble. The name alone is iconic, I'll give it that. As for performance, it's okay, just okay. It dishes out some area of effect damage, but the range is almost non-existent. It sort of feels like Dirty Bubble is trying to fight a war with a pool noodle. You want to root for it, but it just doesn't hold up. Lord Royal Highness makes a royal entrance with solid line damage per second. That's the good news. The bad news, the range is still low, and when it comes to single target damage, he might as well be waving a glow stick at the enemy. It looks fancy, sure, but it is not doing much. Moving on to Squilliam Fancyson, he brings full area of effect damage per second to the party, which is great, but just like the others, the range is low. And honestly, newer units have completely power crept him out of relevance. He's basically that rich guy who keeps showing up to the battle in a tuxedo, while everyone else has evolved into mechs. Then there's Old Man Jenkins, the wise elder of the roster. His area of effect radius is actually impressive. He clears some serious space. His damage output is decent, nothing too flashy, but let's be real, there are better rare area of effect units, and in the grand scheme of SpongeBob Tower Defense, he's considered one of the worst rare units. Harsh, I know. Now, Bubble Buddy is a bit of a twist. He's actually a very good rare unit. He's got solid line area of effect damage per second, but here's the kicker. There's very little reason to use him over the new wave of meta starter units. It's like showing up to a laser tag match with a flashlight. Reliable but outdated. And let's not forget Karate Sandy. She tries her best with some okay single target damage per second, but the lack of area of effect is a huge drawback. To be honest, she ranks among the worst rare units in the game. Like, you want to love her? She's Sandy, but her performance just doesn't justify a spot on the team. Finally, let's talk commons, SpongeBob and Squidward. SpongeBob is the best common unit in the game, no contest. His area of effect damage is solid for his tier, but single target is kind of a joke. Great for starting out, but swap him as soon as you can. And then there's Squidward, very solid damage for a common unit, but again, range is short and he's only really useful in the early stages. Basically, these two are your tutorial buddies. When things get real, you gotta let them go. So yeah, C tier is like the almost made it category. They've got their charm, their little quirks, but when push comes to shove, they're just not built for the high stakes late game chaos. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King Neptune, Tango Karen, Flying Dutchman, Doodle Bob, Plankton, Mr. Krabs, Texas Sandy, Princess Mindy, Karen, Patty Obsessed Squidward, the Elastic Waistband, Pearl, and Grandma Square Pants. You know what really stings? When your favorite unit looks cool but gets completely outclassed by the newer ones. Yeah, we're talking about those B tier but barely hanging on types in SpongeBob Tower Defense, units that aren't terrible, but let's just say, they're not exactly carrying your run either. Let's start with King Neptune, shall we? On paper, he seems like a powerhouse, solid range and a massive area of effect radius. But here's the catch, his single target damage per second is just sad, like really underwhelming. And with how many new units have come out since his debut, he's been completely power creeped. Honestly, for a mythic unit, he's one of the weakest in the entire game. Feels bad for the king. Tango Karen is next up, and oh boy, talk about a missed opportunity. She does have solid single target damage per second, sure, but everything else just falls flat. Her area damage per second is abysmal, and her attack animation drags on forever. It's like she takes a lunch break between every shot, and for a legendary unit, definitely one of the worst you can pull. Then there's the Flying Dutchman, who tries to be the jack of all trades, and kind of ends up being master of none. His line area damage is just okay, not amazing, not terrible, and his single target damage per second is solid enough, but the real problem is that low range, combined with being power creeped by better units. He used to haunt the seas, now he's just haunting the mid tier. Doodle Bob is one of those units you want to be good. He's got solid single target damage and decent range, which makes him alright early on. But once the enemies start flooding in, you'll realize he's got no area damage, none. He just can't handle crowds, and he certainly can't carry a team alone. For a legendary, that's just rough. Let's talk about Plankton for a second. He actually has really good range, and his area damage per second is passable. But here's the kicker, there's just no strong reason to use him when units like Flying Dutchman or Snow Mollusk exist. They do his job, and they do it better. Sadly, that makes him one of the worst legendary options out there. Now, Mr. Krabs, he's an interesting one. He brings solid area damage per second to the table, but his drawbacks are hard to ignore. His seconds per attack is ridiculously high, meaning he hits like a truck, once every Ice Age. His area of effect is also a bit too small, and his range is nothing to write home about. Feels more like a side character than the money-making star he should be. Let's not forget about Texas Sandy. Her range is seriously impressive, but her single target damage per second, yeah. It's kind of a disaster. You'll find yourself watching her hit enemies like she's tickling them with a feather, not what you want when the bosses start rolling in. Finally, Princess Mindy, she's got that smooth attack animation and a solid range, so there's potential, but her single target damage just doesn't cut it for tougher stages. She's more like a nice support unit to have around early game, but she won't be stealing the spotlight anytime soon. These B-tier units aren't completely useless, some of them still have neat sheet roles or fun synergy in themed runs, but in the grand scheme of SpongeBob Tower Defense, they're mostly bench warmers. Good for a bit of fun, not so much for serious ladder climbing. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Dirty Dan, Smitty Werben Jagermanjensen, Realistic Fishhead, SpongeGar, Pinhead Larry, Mermaid Man, Man Ray, Band Geek Patrick, Larry the Lobster, Mermaid Man SpongeBob, Atomic Flounder, Band Geek Squidward, and Bargain Mart. Oh man, if you've ever seen Dirty Dan in action, you know exactly why he's still hanging on in A tier. His splash damage is no joke. Pretty solid range, and that splash radius, it's bigger than you'd expect. He's a great choice when you just want to mow through a cluster of enemies. But here's the thing. Over time, newer units have started to outshine him. He's kind of stuck in that power creeped but still viable limbo. Still, if you've got him leveled up, he'll definitely put in work. Now let's talk about Smitty Werben Jagermanjensen. He was number 1, right? Well, not exactly anymore. His full area of effect damage is still pretty good, and if you're dealing with the hordes, he holds his own. The downside, his single target damage feels a bit weak, and his range isn't anything to write home about. Like Dirty Dan, he's been power creeped, but there's a charm to using him. He's like that old friend who's not the fastest, but always shows up. Realistic Fishhead falls into a similar category. Full area of effect, good damage numbers, especially for waves. But again, the single target side is where he stumbles. Combine that with short range and the fact that newer units just do it better, and you've got yourself a unit that's solid, but maybe not essential unless you're feeling nostalgic or just love his look. On the flip side, SpongeGar brings the pain with single target damage. He's your boss slayer, no doubt about it. His damage output on a single enemy is wild, but no area of effect at all. That means he's terrible for clearing waves, and you definitely can't rely on him to carry your whole team. Throw in his low range, and you get a unit that's very specialized. Still, if you need to delete a boss, SpongeGar is your caveman. Pinhead Larry's got that piercing line damage, and it actually holds up pretty well. His range is decent, and if you place him right, he can shred through a row of enemies. But his damage against single targets is kind of underwhelming, and yeah, you guessed it, he's also fallen victim to power creep. You'll see that trend a lot in A tier. These guys are good, but they're not meta-defining anymore. Mermaid Man is interesting. His area of effect damage is extremely high, which is awesome. But the catch? That area is tiny, so unless enemies are grouped tight, he's not hitting much. Add in his short range and the fact that stronger units have been added since, and he ends up being another unit who had his time in the spotlight but now gets overshadowed. Still, there's something satisfying about seeing him burst down a group of enemies in one shot. Man Ray. Oof. The guy has good range, and his line damage is actually pretty decent, but his long attack animation really brings down his overall effectiveness. Like, if he could just swing a bit faster, he'd be way higher on the tier list. Sadly, he's considered one of the weakest mythic units in the entire game right now. You can make him work, sure, but you've got to build your whole setup around him. Let's wrap this up with some love for the epic and rare units, because honestly, some of them punch way above their weight. Band Geek Patrick and Larry the Lobster both have amazing line damage for their rarity. Mermaid Man SpongeBob is straight up one of the best epic units thanks to his huge line area and great damage. Even Band Geek Squidward, a rare, dishes out crazy full area of effect damage for a starter unit. And let's not forget Bargain Mart. Support units don't get enough credit, but this guy is essential for story mode, raids, and challenges. He's not as good as the Krusty Krab, sure, but being one of the few farming units in SpongeBob Tower Defense makes him super valuable. Whew, a tier is packed, huh? It's full of units that used to be top tier legends or underrated gems, but are now just slightly behind the curve. Still, they've all got their roles, and with the right setup, they can absolutely hold their own. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Captain Magma, Hibernation Sandy, The Quickster, Band Geek, Mr. Krabs, Soaring Starfish, Spot, Band Geek Pearl, Handsome Squidward, Misappear, Snow Mollusk, Granny Tentacles, Band Geek Plankton, and Band Geek Sandy. You ever blink and suddenly your whole team is melted in 2 seconds? Yeah, that's probably Captain Magma's fault. This guy is an absolute monster when it comes to area of effect damage per second. We're talking meta-defining, top of the leaderboard kind of damage. The only downside, his range is on the shorter side, so placement is key. Get him too far back and he's just a very angry, very useless Volcano Man. Now, let's talk about Hibernation Sandy. She's the definition of underrated but deadly. She's got excellent line area of effect damage and her single target capabilities, surprisingly solid, plus her range is nothing to sneeze at. That said, her attack area is pretty narrow, which means she struggles a bit with swarms, and with newer, shinier units stealing the spotlight, she's starting to feel the burn of power creep. Enter the Quickster. Great name, solid performance. This guy brings very good full area of effects damage per second and has a pretty nice range to back it up. But if you're expecting him to handle bosses or single enemies with style, you're gonna be disappointed. Like Sandy, he's been outclassed by some newer units, but he's still a reliable pick if you know how to use him. Now, here comes Band Geek Mr. Krabs. And yes, he's just as chaotic as you imagine. He delivers some very good splash area of effect damage, and the splash radius is huge. We're talking full-on concert level chaos. Only issue? His range isn't the best, so again, placement matters, but when he's in the right spot, he cooks, literally, with trumpets. Speaking of splash damage, let's not forget Soaring Starfish. He's not just good, he's one of the cleanest splash units out there. Very good damage, very good range. The only hiccup is that his splash area is a bit small, so he's better at precise crowd control than chaotic wipeouts. But still, if you need consistency with a hint of dramatic flair, he's your guy. Spot is another splash expert worth talking about. His splash damage is fantastic, and the radius is big. Like, wipe half the map big. But compared to other top tier legendary units, his range falls a bit short. Also, his single target damage doesn't really impress when you stack him up against the real heavy hitters. Still, he's a strong team player if you build around him. Let's give some love to Band Geek Pearl. She's a full area of effect unit, and for a legendary, she punches way above her weight. Her damage is very good, her range is solid, and if you can afford her early on, she'll carry you hard. The catch? She's pricey for a starting unit, so newer players might struggle to get her up and running right away, but once she's out, game changer. And of course, we can't skip Granny Tentacles. She is straight up cracked. For an epic unit, her full area of effect damage per second is insane. Solid range too. Her only real flaw is that she doesn't do great against single enemies, especially if you're facing fast mini bosses. But for clearing waves of enemies, she's like pressing the delete button on your keyboard. Want to hear about the rest of the units? Stick around, we've still got some absolute beasts to cover, including the one who might just be the best rare in the game. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cyborg Plankton, Dream Gary, Band Geek Mrs. Puff, GG Rock SpongeBob, Lord Poltergeist, Tattletale Strangler, Dream Patrick, Perch Perkins, Band Geek SpongeBob, Handsome Plankton, and Krusty Krab. Alright, let's not pretend like you haven't already rage quit after underestimating Cyborg Plankton's laser show from across the map. Because let me tell you, this tiny mech plankton might look like a microwave with legs, but its piercing damage per second and ridiculous range are nothing short of top tier. Sure, it doesn't quite keep up with the flashier secret units released lately, but if you're not putting some respect on its name, you're playing the game wrong. Now, speaking of units that redefine the support role, let's talk Dream Gary. No, really, who would have thought a sleepy-eyed snail could shift the meta this hard? Dream Gary isn't just a support unit, it is the support unit. From boosting your team's output to keeping your defenses running smoother than a jellyfish at a disco party, this guy does it all. It's slow, sure, and okay. The Alaskan bullworm might technically be better in a few scenarios, but Dream Gary brings so much value, especially when played right. Band Geek Mrs. Puff is another unit that doesn't mess around. I mean, she pulls up to the battlefield like she's conducting an orchestra of destruction. With some of the best range and piercing damage per second among the mythical units, she's not just playable, she's meta. If you've got her, build around her. If you don't, well, enjoy losing your lanes. Let's not ignore GG Rock SpongeBob. This is the unit that defines line damage meta. If there's a straight line of enemies, this guy deletes them like old homework. The range? Massive. The power? Mythical. GG Rock SpongeBob has become such a staple in high-level play that you'll probably find him in most late-game strategies, and for good reason. And then there's Lord Poltergeist, probably the coolest ghost to ever drop into SpongeBob Tower Defense. This unit dominates with full area of effect capabilities, dealing consistent, widespread damage with impressive range. True, it doesn't shine as much when it comes to single target enemies, but for clearing out waves, it's a total beast. Let's rewind a bit and talk about the Tattletale Strangler. He's like that washed up rockstar who's still better than half the new talent. His full area of effect damage is nothing to sneeze at, and while his single target damage and range aren't amazing, he still outperforms a lot of older full area mythical units. Basically, not the strongest, but way more solid than you'd expect. Dream Patrick? Absolute menace. If you need to take out one enemy, just one, but really fast and with extreme prejudice, this is your go-to. With insanely high damage and extremely low seconds per attack, and one of the best single target setups among legendary units, he brings pure chaos. And yes, he does it with a smile that hides absolutely zero thoughts. Last but not least, shout out to the legends, Perch Perkins and Band Geek SpongeBob. Both offer fantastic line area of effect damage, incredible range, and top tier value in the legendary category. These guys consistently overperform, making them essential picks for players who don't have a stacked roster of mythical units yet. And hey, while we're at it, can we give a round of applause to Krusty Krab? It's not flashy, but it's one of the few farming units in the game and a clutch choice for story modes, challenge runs, and raids. Sometimes utility wins games. Want the full tier list breakdown next? Let me know, because some of these rankings might cause fights in the comments. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Dennis, Hash Slinging Slasher, Alaskan Bullworm, Sea Bear, Spongehenge, Easter Bunny SpongeBob, Bubbles the Dolphin, Sea Rhino, and Richard. Alright, let me hit you with a sentence that's more powerful than a sea bear's AoE. If you've never felt the raw satisfaction of watching Dennis melt an entire wave with a single swipe, are you even playing SpongeBob Tower Defense, right? Let's kick things off with Dennis, because this guy is absolutely cracked. He's one of the best units in the entire game, and for good reason. Not only does he deal full area of effect damage at insane levels, but he also sneaks in a bonus single target attack. That's right, Dennis is out here multitasking like a true professional. Combine that with his wild range and his ability to burn enemies with every hit, and you've got yourself a unit that doesn't just dominate waves, he annihilates them. Now, let's talk about the Hash Slinging Slasher. The name alone is iconic, but his performance in-game, even better. He shares that same top tier, full area of effect damage potential with Dennis, including that extra single target punch. His range, insane. His power level, through the roof. He's spooky, he's slashy, and he's straight up terrifying for your enemies. Next up, the Alaskan Bullworm. This thing isn't just massive in the show, it's a meta powerhouse in SpongeBob Tower Defense. The pierce damage is absolutely broken, shredding through enemy lines like they're made of tissue paper. But that's not all. It also applies frostbite, slowing enemies down and making them easy pickings for your entire squad. Oh, and let's not forget the secret sauce. It brings meta level support to the table. Total game changer. Speaking of splash damage, let's give a round of applause to the Sea Bear. This unit is just absurd. Splash area of effect damage that's off the charts, one of the best units in the game. And did I mention it has insane range? It's like the Swiss Army knife of destruction. Whatever situation you throw at it, the Sea Bear comes out swinging and winning. Now let's shift the spotlight to Spongehenge. This one's a fan favorite for sure. It dishes out full area of effect damage at a meta level, and its range is more than enough to cover crucial choke points. But what really makes it shine? The consistency. You drop Spongehenge into a wave and it performs every single time. No flukes, no fails, just pure destructive rhythm. Moving on to Easter Bunny SpongeBob. This guy is a bit more specialized, but still wildly powerful. He deals a mix of single target and splash damage, and when you consider that you can place two of him at once, the total damage output becomes nuts. Sure, the splash radius is small and his range is relatively short, but what he lacks in spread, he makes up for in sheer burst damage. Don't sleep on Bunny Bob. Let's not forget Bubbles the Dolphin. Now this is a mythical unit that really lives up to the hype. It delivers line area of effect damage with precision and power. And that range? Chef's kiss. Bubbles isn't just good, it's one of the absolute best mythical units in the game, and it earns that spot every single match. And finally, we've got Sea Rhino and Richard, two more mythical monsters. Sea Rhino brings the heat with piercing area of effect damage and phenomenal range. Meanwhile, Richard follows up with deadly line area of effect damage and similarly strong range. They're both elite, both game defining, and both belong in your loadout if you're serious about climbing the ranks in SpongeBob Tower Defense. Let me know which one of these units you rely on the most, and if you've got a personal MVP that's not on this list, we might just have a debate coming. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.